It's thinking. All right, we're going to start recording here in 5, 4, 3.
Every week, we break down real estate investing with real deals, real numbers, and real strategies you can actually use.
And I'm learning right alongside you. We'll ask the questions beginners are afraid to ask and show you what it really takes to build wealth through real estate.
Whether you're buying your first property or your 50th, welcome to BrickFolio.
I mean, first of all, shout out to that awesome, incredible intro song. Let me just do that real quick. Get that light out of there.
We like
that. Welcome to the BrickFolio Podcast. This is episode number 6. And I'm here real quick with Brian Biernat. Say hi,
Brian.
Brian.
Good morning.
Hey, all right. So we're going to start doing a little segment. Up until this point, it's been a hypothetical. Well, Daniel's a newbie investor and he's like not really done anything, but he's kind of wanting to. Well, we put an offer in on a house last week.
There we go.
So my partner Drew and I, we are officially in the real estate game. We had a contractor come out last week. That was an interesting experience for me. I've been around contractors my whole life, but I've never been on the investment side of it. So we walked the property with Stephanie Nix, and who's the realtor, and she's also helping us with this first project. We spent about an hour there going through everything. The contractor gave us a list of things that we were going to need to do. I took a couple things off, like I'm going to refinish the tubs and showers to save a little money, and kind of went back and forth on that. That was an interesting process. Ran everything by my mentor Brian and by Stephanie, who's involved with this. And so now we've got that settled in. We're waiting. We're shooting for closing next Friday or this next Friday.
Okay.
And once we do that, excuse me, I didn't understand how it worked with the contractors. I thought once you look at a house, you can go ahead and call the contractor and say, hey, let's get on your schedule. I didn't understand that there was a deposit that needed to be taken care of
Sometimes.
right before. Yep. And with this particular contractor, that is, he requires a $5,000 deposit for materials in order to get on his schedule. So, and Stephanie said that's normal. That's not crazy. So as soon as we close next Friday and get that money, I'll go hand a $5,000 check to Scott, our contractor, and we'll be off to the races. So
that's awesome.
That's a little update today.
How about a little applause?
Yay! Let's see here. Do we have? Yes, we do have that. That's right. There we go.
All right.
So we are off to the races.
We have a closing today.
Oh, you do?
We do.
Tell us about it.
So we're helping out he's an out-of-state investor. He's actually from Canada.
Okay.
Probably going to do some other deals together. He had a bad experience with somebody here locally. Well, locally, and then he was remotely. But anyway, long and short, we're bailing him out of a situation. We're going to buy the house from him. Got a great deal on the house. He gets a cash offer. He's out of it. Stress relief, no anxiety. And we're going to make it. We're going to keep it. We don't sell anything. We keep it. So we're closing today at 1.
Furnished rental?
It's going to be a co-living property.
Oh, pad split or
rent rooms. Yeah, we're getting a lot of demand in Jackson right now, and it's actually one street over from my other pad split, my 6-bedroom on Sunny Lane.
Oh, okay.
So it's right there in that little northeast corner. I love Northeast Jackson.
Okay,
that's my jam.
I love it too.
That's our jam, I should say. But anyway, so we're closing on that one. We have grass is mowed. Tree guys are there today. HVAC guy will be there today, and then you're going to do my tubs and my surround.
Yes. And also remind us real quick, if you would, with pad split specifically. I know in Jackson, you're limited to 6 unrelated people.
Yeah. So Hinds County ordinance is 6 unrelated occupants.
And then Madison and Rankin are 2 or 3.
I don't know. Madison, I know is 2. I would not do them in Madison.
Yeah.
But Rankin, I have to go back and look. But bottom line is, it's a co-living. And we use pad split as kind of like the platform. They collect the money and they do the background checks. And so, it makes it a little simpler. They handle some of the administrators.
Can I ask,
kind of like the Airbnb of the.
How much does pad split charge for their services? Or is that
8%?
8?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can get into more detail on that. There's some other things, but anyway, So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're closing that
Congratulations.
Yeah, we're still
we have
on the deal.
We have an incredible guest today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So our guest today is Zach Stegall, and he and his wife Kate. He's my DSCR lender.
Okay.
And I met Zach. Zach was on a Dealmaker group.
Imagine
and
that.
I found his number and I called him. Probably Zach, I think 2 years ago, Zach? Something like that, 2 years ago? Does that sound right?
Yeah, about 2.
Yeah, about 2 years ago. Anyway, Zach and I have formed a relationship. Zach works out of Pennsylvania. So I asked him if he would come on and maybe talk to us a little bit about, what he does. And, and I just referred someone to you this yesterday as well.
Maybe question. DSCR is debt coverage.
Debt service
coverage ratio. Okay.
And I'm sure Zach's going to go into all that with us and what makes a good deal. So, Zach also, I think he said broker's a little hard money as well. So
okay,
this will be our second lender. We had Wendy Sweet on initially in episode 1.
Yeah.
And Wendy is more traditional, hard and private. And Zach does more DSCR and some hard. So without further ado, and let's get a raging applause for our guest, Zach Stegall. Welcome to the show, Zach.
What's up, fellas? Happy to be here.
How's things in Pennsylvania today?
Hot. I think it's going to be like 92 today.
Wow. Yeah, it's hot here. It's a 95, so we're back hot. We're in hot season. It starts like the end of May, and it doesn't end until the fair, second week of October. Typically.
I love it.
Do you love it?
I love it. I love I don't care. I'm not that guy that, I can't hate. I hate it when it's hot, and then they complain. I hate it when it's cold. Shut up.
It's great.
Shut up. Just be grateful.
It's great for my golf game. I love when it's hot because it's easier to swing when you're wearing a shirt and shorts than trying to be all bundled up.
Right.
So anyway,
True.
Without further ado, Zach, why don't you just give us a little intro on what you do, how long you've been doing it, and then we'll get into some specifics on, maybe the whole refi thing and the DSCR process, and talk about how people can find you.
Sure. So I'm Zach. I am the owner of WLP Funding, and WLP Funding is just a company. I went out on my own like 3 years ago for DSCR and hard money, because the places I was working for, like I would have to charge like some obscene amount of fees to originate the loan so that we could pay the house, 1 or 2 points that they were requiring, or the house was looking for a $1,500 flat processing fee, and then, another half a point or a point on top. So long and short of it, I went out on my own like 3 years ago. And instead of charging, the same amount that's industry standard, I charge what I would have made if I was working at, somebody's broker shop. So that helped us like build a huge book of business really fast. And I'm really grateful for that. I got into the mortgage business by accident when I was 19. So there was a sweatshop down in Baltimore that a bunch of people up here in Pennsylvania were like driving down to and working at. And I telemarketed there, calling conforming refi leads for about a year. So that was just all like Fannie, Freddie, and FHA and VA. And I was really good at it. So they were like, "Hey man, you want to be a loan officer?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I think I freaked out for like 3 months because they took away my base and it was all commission. But then I got my first commission check and I never looked back. So I'm 31 now. I've been doing it since I was 19. And I switched from conforming consumer loans to investor products in like 2022. So yeah, that's what we do. We do hard money, we do DSCR. And my fiance Kate and I, we both have our NMLS hanging up at different banks. So we're able to do those conforming loans and stuff too in all 50 states. We don't get a lot of them, but I do get some old clients in like weird states that I did refis for like years ago, and they're looking to buy a new house or they're looking to refinance their existing loan or something like that. So I keep the NMLS hanging up at a brokerage just in case those opportunities come up.
That's great. So 31, man, I thought you were older than that. You're just a young buck.
Yeah, man.
You're just a little bit,
bro.
you're just a little bit older than my oldest son. My oldest son's 29. So all right. So Zach, so let's do this. Let's talk about DSCR loans and how important they are. And, maybe just give us first of all, give us a definition, kind of like the ratio you're looking for. And then just, we can talk about the importance, right? I don't know how many we've done together. I want to say at least, 15, maybe. I don't know. It's quite a few.
Don't know why.
But Zach's been a great partner. Like I said, this is the first time we physically met in person, but we've had a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, and a lot of emails.
Are you local, Zach?
No.
Are you here local?
No,
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
he's in PA. Where in PA exactly are you?
South Central. So it's York, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So our claim to fame is we were the nation's capital one time for like 3 months.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's like an old, very unkept statue of George Washington downtown.
Interesting.
Okay, I got a question real quick about that. So with Wendy specifically, Wendy does not loan in Mississippi, right? She's only in North Carolina. Is that by choice or is there?
It's by choice.
Okay, so you can be anywhere in the country and loan anywhere in the country. You don't have to have license. Like, you have to be licensed in a different every state,
you want to take
or
that?
what does that look like?
It depends on what you're doing, right? So, with conforming loans, your regular consumer loans, you have to have a license. You either are licensed in each state, or you, like my NMLS is with a Fed charter. I've always worked for Fed charters, simply because we just operate under their umbrella and their licensing. So I have an NMLS number, but I don't have to have individual state licenses for the consumer loans.
Okay.
DSCR and hard money is a little different. It's still like kind of like the Wild West, man. There's no, and that was what made going out on my own so easy. There's no regulations on licensing for DSCR or hard money on the institutional side. So when I went out on my own, that was an easy choice, because it was like, okay, like I don't have to go through all the hoops to get a broker license. I don't have to do all this stuff. The hardest part of doing that is having relationships and like knowing lenders and banks and who to like get set up with, right? So I already had some relationships prior on the wholesale side of mortgage lending with some lenders that I was able to get signed up with the broker to. And then also like knowing a lot of people in the business on my side that were doing these loans already. And then, just reaching out to them and being like, hey, who's doing this, who's doing that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the guy's number, call them, get set up, fill out their broker package, stuff like that. So on the hard money and DSCR side, it's like I said, it's like the Wild West, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because there's a lot, like, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've been doing it a long time. So like I already came into it like knowing the basics and like kind of what I was doing. It's just a matter of like learning the loan product and like, who it applies to. But quite literally anyone with an LLC can do it. So there's a lot of people that more or less like maybe don't have a great idea of what they're doing, and they're just like throwing stuff against the wall to see what's going to stick. I talked to a lot of people that, have bad experience with lenders because they, the guy was a yes man until, 3 weeks in or a couple days before closing. So, but the short answer to the question is, you do not have to be licensed to originate DSCR hard money. Private money, I don't know how that works. I know it's like your own money. So if somebody's like not lending in a specific state and they're lending their own money, I think that's by choice. Pretty sure. So
I didn't realize you did hard. So are you considered a hard money lender then? So if I said, Zach, I got a deal, are you funding those as a hard money lender, and then we can cash out with the DSCR?
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
it depends on everybody's definition of hard money.
Sure.
Some people, when they hear hard money, they think like a guy with a bunch of money and he's going to come and make sure he likes the deal and he's going to give you the money. To me, that's private money.
Okay.
When I say hard money, I'm talking about like institutional hard money, renovation loans through banks.
Okay. Okay. So you're just brokering that process, much like when you do a DSCR loan for me.
Same thing. Yeah,
Okay.
it just closes much quicker. It's like 7 business days, depending on
Okay.
how like cooperative the.
So that might be an avenue. That could be another avenue, right? And then he could be both sides, right? So you have a deal, you make sure it pencils to the right LTV, like we talk about here. Kind of our model is 70% of ARV minus repairs is kind of the model we use. Some people, it could be a little higher, a little less, depending on where you're at. But then, if you don't have a private money person or another hard money person, Zach would be an option there. And then when we get ready to, we got to pay, the rehab's getting done. We're going to pull the trigger on the refi. Going to call Zach. He's already got my application. So he's like, hey, give me the information. And then he starts moving to get that going. And the biggest thing, he's doing stuff on the back end, but the biggest thing is getting the appraisal, right? Got to get the appraisal out there. We've had a lot of discussions on appraisals and appraisers, haven't we, Zach?
We certainly have.
But I think we've got one, and maybe there's another one that I'll bring to you that we might be able to use that's been really good for us. So, but we'll get through that part of it. And then, he sets it up with our title company, Simpkins Law here in Madison, works with Kimmy and, our insurance person. So, it's important. It's a very, very, so this business people, when I got in it, they said, hey, it's a team sport. So Zach's on our team, right? He's a very integral part of, us being able to execute our strategy. For you to execute your strategy, you need a DSCR lender.
Let me learn you on something here. I'm quickly becoming very aware of how incredible the BrickFolio podcast is going to be in my real estate career. Not only have I utilized one guest, now I just have this vision of Zach and I being on the phone all the time. Hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And us doing a lot of deals together. So I'm super excited about this. Carry on.
Anyway,
dude.
Yeah. So Zach has been a great partner. So today, Zach, so you're in all 50, you lend in all 50 states, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And, so what, maybe just, I'm trying to think, where do I want to go with this discussion? So if you were to, like, we've done quite a few deals, but if, like, say like Daniel, he just got his first deal. It's going to be a fix and flip, I believe. Is that right?
It is.
Okay. So you're not holding it. So you won't need a DSCR lender.
Right.
Zach, just so you know, you heard me say we got another house under contract. So guess what I'm going to be wanting here pretty soon.
A quote.
There you go. So this one's going to be a little different. Now I don't want to get into that detail here per se, but I'll get with you on that offline. But
and Drew and I are looking at one today to turn into a furnished rental. So
the one you sent.
Yes.
Me. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So Zach, you may be hearing from me pretty shortly here.
There you go.
Sure.
So
I think you touched on something really important too, Brian, when you mentioned 70% of the ARV
value.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's how a lot of the hard money lenders look at it too. They usually cap it like 70% of the ARV. Some of them will do 75, but it's typically 70.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
On the money with that.
I don't want to put a gun to your head or make you say something you shouldn't, but if I come to you for hard money, what am I paying? Like, what's my annualized interest and what are my points typically with you on that?
Depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to me, so like with my, and I got to touch on the DSCR part. So with my DSCR lenders, I do so much volume with them that they don't charge points on their side outside of like their underwriting fee. So on the hard money side, they all charge a minimum of 1%. It's usually about 1%. And then we charge 1%. And then we have the lender's going to have their standard underwriting fee, which can range from like $19.95 to like $2,200, depending on where we take the loan. But yeah, probably about 2 points and an underwriting fee.
And so on the hard money side, so if I came to you and said, hey, I got this deal, I present you the deal, address, here's the purchase price, here's the repairs. Are you going to want a detailed scope, a high level scope? Because that's up front, right? So you're going to come back and say, are you going to give me, if you agree to do that deal, are you going to fund it on draws? Are you going to give me the whole amount up front? Or how are you going to do it on a hard money side?
So it's funded on draws.
Okay.
As far as like how much due diligence I do on the front end, it really depends on like who I'm talking to.
Okay.
So if Brian Biernat comes to me and says, hey, I need a quote on this deal.
Good, man. Checks in the mail.
This is what the purchase price is. This is what the reno is. This is what it's going to be worth. Like, I'm just going to make the pre-approval letter if you need one. And I'm going to send you a quote and I'm going to wait until you give me the contract. If it's somebody that I've never dealt with before, I'm going to say, hey, like, okay, like how much is the renovation? Do we have like a scope of work? It doesn't need to be, anything like super detailed, but I just need to see like that the person is in the ballpark.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I've done that before and I've, with what I suspected to be like, newer investors and it's an opportunity to teach them, which is cool. I like to do that, but I'll get a scope of work and it's like, I'm like, bro, like there's no way that a whole new kitchen's only costing you $5,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, been there, done that. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a key point there, right? So demonstrated performance, right, is key. So the more you do, the more experience you have, obviously makes a huge difference for the lender, obviously.
Is that just because he feels more comfortable?
Well, that, and you've demonstrated that, okay, you can buy a house, you can fix a house. And I think we had one deal, Zach, it was a PRV property. So we him and I learned that his underlying lender doesn't like to lend on leasehold land. Who knew?
Wait, right? PRV is Pearl River Valley.
Mm-hmm. So all that property here in the area around the res, a particular lender that we use, his underlying lender does not like to lend on that leasehold.
Yeah, we had to flip it to a different investor. Yeah.
So that was that was something we learned, right? So, but I think when you go through and do all these deals, and you close, you finish, you exit like you're going to exit, or maybe you have to get a little creative like we did on that one. But over and over again, he gets paid. He gets paid. My private lender gets paid off, and we move on to the next one. So once you've done some of those, right, you're in credibility. Right, you don't get credibility overnight. Right. You have to kind of earn
trust. Takes time. Yeah.
Yeah. Trust takes time to build, but it takes seconds to lose. Yep. Right. So we've heard the horror stories in the business where, people aren't paying people back. They're leaving the area with owing people all this money. So that's why it's important to protect your lenders at all costs. Right. Always a deed of trust in our state, always a note. Right. We sign, when we do DSCR loans, we sign a personal guarantee. So, that's just kind of standard, right? So let me think here. So, where were we going with this? We were talking about the DSCR loan. We were talking about his hard money. So anyway, we were talking about qualifications, newbie investors. So what else? So you want to see not like a 10-page statement of work, but a solid statement of work. So if someone says, yeah, I gotta get the kitchen and redo it, it's going to cost me $25,000. You'd be like, okay, that's more in line than the $5,000 you said you were going to do it for. So you talked about the statement of work, and then keep going. What else would you?
I mean, most of it on hard money is on the front side on the pre-approval process.
Okay.
So when we run that deal through the sizer, we're going to put the estimated numbers in on the front side, right? So when we're originating the loan, we're putting it in the system. We're going to, we're going to do a softball on credit, right? So credit's got to fall where it's got to fall.
And where do you want to see people's credit? Like 700 or above, 740, 760?
It depends on where we're taking it. Like I have garbage can lenders that'll just do anything as long as the numbers make sense and the experience is there, right? So you can have like a lot of experience, and the numbers can be really good on that subject property, but maybe the credit's not there.
Okay.
We can do stuff like that. We can do, obviously the higher the score, the better. But most of it is on the front, right? We look at the credit, that comes back okay. And that's really going to determine rate and LTV. We're throwing in the purchase price, the estimated renovation budget, and the ARV, and then we're putting the address in there. And that's a big thing with like hard money loans. It's not like DSCR. Like DSCR, I'm not really too worried about I'm worried about where the property is and stuff like that, but I'm not as worried about it as I am on a hard money loan, because when we put that address in on a hard money loan, like we can quote a DSCR loan without an address, just off of basic raw numbers, right? But the hard money loans are a little bit different because the lender wants to run that property address, and like internally, there's no hard appraisal on those loans. It's all virtual.
Okay.
Whether it's just a desktop appraisal or it's hey, the client takes pictures and uploads them. So when we were running the loan in initially, we're looking at the property address to make sure, like right on the front end, that like the computer at least thinks that the ARV is going to stack up kind of roughly where the client is saying that it is.
Let me check one thing. So if I had let's say we had done previous DSCR loans and I came to you and I had a house nearby, like one street over,
Sure.
and we knew that we had an appraisal on this house for, let's say, 250, and let's say it was a four bedroom, 3 bath, and I had a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. And I said, well, the kind of work we did, we got this appraisal. So, we're saying this one's going to come in at 230 roughly. So does that come into effect? Will they consider that will you consider that as well?
I mean, I would consider it as far as like workflow and like how much, like I said, when it's like somebody like you, like I'm not scrubbing everything, like make sure it's going to work. Cause I just know that it is, cause you've been doing it a while and you're smart with what you do. Right. So, but on the lending side, they're banks, man. They don't care. You know what I mean? Like they're like, hey, we got to, the money's the money. The math is the math. They want to make sure it's going to line up. So once the initial, and it's not even really a desktop appraisal on the front. It's just like putting the address in and just making sure like the values in the area are kind of aligning with what we're saying the ARV is going to be. We put all that in there. And underwriting on a hard money loan, and one of the reasons why they're so quick is because there's not nearly as much. In DSCR, there's already not a lot of documentation, but with hard money, it's even less. So we're really just looking at 99% of the underwriting on a hard money loan is verifying the ARV through the desktop appraisal, and the underwriter is going to be more or less fact checking the scope of work to make sure that it stacks up with reasonable values, what we're saying. And that and when you're doing the a lot of them will ask for pictures of the inside, instead of a standard appraisal. So those pictures, right, it helps underwriting determine the validity of the scope of work, right? So
yeah, sure.
Just a very extreme example of somebody saying, hey, it just needs paint and carpet and some new windows, and the pictures of the inside of the house is just a shell, right? They're going to say, well, hey, like, what's up with that? And a lot of that is also just like kind of, these lenders get a lot of loans, they get a lot of submissions, and it's kind of up to the broker's job to make sure like we're not wasting their time and we're not just like giving them something that doesn't make any sense. So it's really important for us to vest it on the front, or to vet it on the front to make sure it's, we're not just throwing something in the underwriting that's going to just waste everybody's time.
Gotcha. So let me ask this question. So if I had a property, so we're in the furnished rental business, right? That's kind of our core bread and butter, furnished rentals, 30 plus, and we have, let's say, at least 12 months or more of actual furnished rental numbers versus traditional rental numbers. And I came to you and I said, hey, I got this property. I really need to get a DSCR loan out of it. Will you guys consider furnished rental numbers versus traditional rent numbers? How do you handle that situation?
We can. So we treat it as a short-term rental, essentially, right? Even if the lease will say like midterm rental or something like that, or how long are your leases typically? Month to month, 6 months?
It varies. I mean, it could be 30 days. It could be 6 months. I guess my real point is, if I had a property that's been it's already been purchased, rehab, but maybe I didn't get the greatest rate on the front end when I cashed out, right? Or did my refi. So, but I have 12, 24, 36 months of hard data that I could actually send you out of my property management software that says, hey, this thing's been leased up for, I don't know, 34 out of the last 36 months at, $3,400 a month. And you had that data. Is that enough? Is what I'm hearing sometimes is 12 months is enough, more than 12 months, but you'll actually use that data to justify, it'll still probably DSCR with normal rent, but it would just make it that much sweeter, right?
Well, that's the thing I was going to touch on. So to answer your question, yes, we can use, so it's the same thing with like Airbnb or anything else.
Right.
The way they all look at the midterm rentals and month to month stuff like that. So we're going to look at, if we have 12 months, same thing with an Airbnb, we can use the 12 months. I think it's like depending on where we take it, I think it's like a 20 or a 30% cost expense ratio.
Okay.
So they'll take, the 12-month total, and then, they'll cut 30% off of it, and we'll use the 70% divided by 12 to come up with the monthly rent amounts. But you touched on something important, which is like, most of the time, the value of the property, which is going to determine, the loan amount based off the LTV, it's going to align with the long-term market rents usually. It's very rare that I've seen that it hasn't. So it's almost always going to DSCR off of the long-term rents. As far as like incentives on the loan, rate is typically FICO and LTV driven. So, and it's also driven by the debt service ratio. So, best case scenario, 780 score, 75 LTV, debt service over 1.2, and that's where you're going to shine. And then, you can get a lower LTV, and that'll obviously lower the rate. But it's limiting your cash back, or if it's a rate and term refinance, you have to probably be at like a 75 LTV if you've refinanced it recently or in the last couple of years. So there is some incentive on,
if that DSCR ratio, let's say, goes above 2. Let me rephrase the question. At what point does the DSCR ratio being higher than, like, say 1.2, does it help me?
It's like 1 point. I think you get like an extra eighth on rate at 1.5.
Okay. But after that, no benefit.
Yeah, it's same thing with like credit score. Like once you're over like 740,
right,
kind of getting the best that there is.
Gotcha. Yeah. So although you might be an 800 or 820 or 830, you don't get bonus points or any kind of extra for that credit rating, at least on the loan.
Now the buckets, the score buckets go by 20s starting at 600, and they stop at 780. So when you're pricing, if it's 830, like I was just pricing one last night with an 830 score, and I just put in 780 plus.
Gotcha. Okay, Daniel.
Yes.
Questions?
No, I'm just let me put that over here. I'm just sitting here thinking, right now, no, to answer your question directly, but what I am thinking here is, okay, I'm hearing these terms over and over and over again. I I'm kind of overwhelmed with gratitude about the fact that like God has kind of worked everything to immerse me into these incredible situations where I'm hearing incredibly smart people talk about something that I now am becoming to love very, very much. So I'm just, no, I don't have any questions right now, but as something, right now I'm a sponge,
Understand.
and I also want to listen more than I talk. So that's where I'm at right now.
So I think, Zach's got a lot of great answers, a lot of great experience. I think the biggest thing is you got to know your numbers, right? And there's an old saying I learned when I got it. It's don't fall in love with the property.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the numbers.
Yeah. You told me that, and that keeps on ringing through my head every single day.
And sometimes it's hard because when you see these houses, like Zach, I think I sent you Marblehead, right? You hadn't really seen. And so it just, I do that so that, he can actually, wow, okay, this is where we did. Right. So, and it's easy to fall in love with the property, right? It's material. You can touch it, you can see it, but really fall in love with the numbers, right? If it pencils, it's a deal. If it doesn't, next. Right. And you have to really have that. And to be perfectly honest, when you're out there looking for deals, I think what you're going to find, Daniel, is you're going to turn down way more.
Yeah.
Than you're gonna want to put an offer on, right? I mean, and you always put an offer. One of my early folks said, always give them an offer. Give them the opportunity to say yes, right? Always give them an offer because you just never know, right? I'll tell you a funny story. 2 years ago, I went to Scotland on a missions trip, right? And I don't know, 2-3 weeks before, we were looking at a house, and God, what house was it? I'm trying to think which one it was now. I can't remember the property. Anyway, I found it on MLS. My realtor, we put an offer in, and honestly, kind of forgot about it. And the day I was leaving, I was at the Jackson airport, and I was having a discussion with a guy that we were going with, talking about real estate. And I get this phone. I say, hey, I got to take this call. And my realtor says, you're not going to believe this, but, I know what it was. It was a house in South Jackson. We ended up buying it, fixing it, and turnkeying it to an out-of-state investor friend of mine. But they were asking like $128,000 for a house. And it had appraised for that, but it was like needing all kind of work. And, I think I made him an offer of like 62, and they'd come back and I just said, look, you know what, just come back at 50 and let me know what they say. And they said yes. So you never know what people are.
I like that.
You just don't know. Right. So
like
here
that.
I am, I'm getting on the plane and, got a house. They're like, hey, if you can give us 50 cash, let's do it. So, anyway, Zach's been great to work with. Zach, if someone wants to reach out to you, if they don't know me, because I'm gonna connect you. By the way, you've had a few connections with some people I've met, and I guess you're doing a few deals with some, right?
Yeah. I
Great, that's awesome.
I have to look at the pipe. I think I got like 2 or 3.
Nice.
Might be 2.
Okay.
And then I got one other person I'm talking to today that you connected me with yesterday.
Great. And Zach, if people that are listening and watching are interested in getting a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Phone's faster than email. If you email me, I might not get back to you till the next day. So call or text 410-841-8034.
One more time.
We have a Facebook page.
One more time, a little slower.
Yeah.
Yeah. 410-841-8034.
That's
and
all.
then that number's also on Facebook, WLP Funding, and then WLPfunding.com.
And I can attest that Zach is very, very responsive on text. So we do a lot of our communicating that way. So let's see. So Zach, let me ask you this question. So you're funding all these investor deals. So are you in the game? Do you have any rental properties? Any kind of, you ever fix and flip? I mean,
So not in the game yet. So Kate and I did a flip in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania.
I know where that's at.
Her family is from there. It's like right next to Site R, which is where they take the president if something bad ever happens in that mountain. But
oh, that's where that's
yeah,
at.
we did one out there a few years ago, and I have and we've looked at some houses locally. I haven't put as much time into it as I should because I've been spending so much time trying to build and automate my business. So I probably should get on the horse sooner than later. I just have been like stuck on trying to like build my business as much as possible. So like every year we're almost like doubling our volume.
Right.
And I'm trying to see like at what point does that like cap out? Like how hard can I work? How much time can I put into this? Like until like it's impossible to make more money without like hiring a bunch of people.
Right. Let me ask you this.
Right now it's just me and Kate.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Do you love what you do, or is this a job?
I love what I do because it gives me the freedom to do whatever I want to do. So I always have this funny saying, like God knew me better than myself when I was like 19.
Yeah.
Because I hate manual labor, dude. It's so like, nothing wrong with people that do it. I have so much respect. I can't do it. Plus I have Crohn's disease. So like I have like chronic fatigue. So sitting at a desk like works really well for me, but I do love what I do. We do well financially, and I'm a salesperson at heart. So, you know, I like having those like deep conversations with people, especially when somebody's like, hey, I'm talking to 2 or 3 other people. Like I really like trying to like win over that deal, or like pushing as hard as I can to like try to like get that deal in house. Always been that way. My first job was selling vacuum cleaners door to door when I was 18.
Were you a Kirby salesman?
I was a Kirby guy.
Nice. Kirby. You know what a Kirby vacuum is?
Is that Rainbow?
No.
Kirby best vacuum in the world, by the way.
Yeah, it's like one of the best vacuums you can buy.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Are they light?
The sales tax? No, they're terribly heavy, and their sales tax.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny manual labor story. So I grew up in Arizona. I was in Tucson. I remember I think it was my junior year, So my buddy and I got this job working for this contractor, and he put in all this. In Arizona, there's people have a lot of sprinkler systems because it's dry and you got to water the ground. So our goal, we had to put a sprinkler system in for this apartment complex. And so our job, he paid us $8 an hour back in 1983, right? To dig. Basically, we dug this trench. Like we had to dig trench. Like our goal every day was how many feet of trench. And so he had this little marker, and he'd say, okay, today's objective is here. So when you're finished, like you're done. Right. And then the next day we come back, and let me tell you, pickaxe, shovel, hot sun. So we started at 6 a.m. And when you get to about noon, it's pretty hot. It's 110, right? It's a dry heat, as they say. But that was my probably the biggest manual labor job until I went in the Air Force. But that was like, we were excited. We were like, teenagers were making $8 an hour in 1983. I mean, gosh, that was like making $100 an hour today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, but I'm with you, man. It's like, I used to tell someone, from the neck down, I'm worth only so much an hour, but from the neck up, it's unlimited, right? And the more I meet people in this business and the different things they know, and some of the people I have the privilege of honor of, knowing and talking to, and just hearing how they format deals. And we're going to get some other guys on here that do lending. And one of them is Jeff Shahusky. I'm going to try to get him on here. He is incredible investor as well. But there's just so many smart people, the way they can construct things. But it's great to have a lender in your corner for obvious reasons, but they can also help you not get into trouble on a deal. Have you ever had, so tell us, maybe, I know we're getting close on time. Maybe give us an illustration, Zach, of maybe a deal that you didn't do because maybe the investor was a little eager, but you had to maybe talk them off the ledge a little bit. Anything in recent memory?
Yeah, I've had some stuff like that. I have a guy that I think like the first loan I did for him was a DSCR loan, and the appraisal came back like massively short, and he ended up having to sell it, and he lost some money on it. And I think like the next deal he brought to me, we had that conversation. I've had that conversation with a lot of people like locally where I'm at, because I know my market. But also, like, you know, sometimes I'll get somebody will bring me a deal and they're like, hey, you know, maybe they already have like a private money relationship lined up, and they're like, hey, I just want to see like what numbers look like on the back end on this when I go to refinance it. You know, and I'll run the numbers, and I'm like, hey man, like, unless you're planning on bringing like, you know, 20 grand, 25 grand, sometimes more to the table, like it's not going to make sense. Also, I've had some relationships where a lot of these guys that I worked with were like mentors, and they would get like new out-of-state investors, just essentially people with a lot of money that don't know anything and they want to get into the business. You know, and they'll send me properties turnkey. It was always turnkey, and I don't have an issue with turnkey. I think it's great. But for what these people were trying to do, right? Like they're, hey, I'm gonna buy a property, and I'm gonna buy the next one. I'll buy the next one. I'll buy the next one. Okay. Well, how much capital do you have? Well, I have this much. Okay. So you're going to tap out around, you know, however many of these turnkey properties. Right. And people, and it's why this podcast is important. And it's, you know, important to talk to people and know what they're doing, because that didn't occur to some of these people. Right. Like eventually, if I'm buying turnkey, yes, they're going to be worth more money in the future. Right. But if my model is to scale and build, and I want to keep, you know, buying properties and, you know, scale my business over the next 5 years to whatever their goal is, you're not going to do that with turnkey, right? Like I had somebody that, you know, had a paid off primary, and they took out $200K on a HELOC, which I would advise against sometimes. Maybe some, you know, situations are different, but they were like, hey, my house is paid off. I took out $200K in a HELOC. I want to invest. Okay, cool. Here's how many properties I want to have in the next, you know, 2 years. Okay, cool. So, you know, you can get to a certain point, but if you're not value adding to the properties, like your model with what you're doing with Pad Split and the co-op living houses, like if you're not value adding, then you're gonna get stuck.
Yeah. Well, you said something there is kind of important. So, you know, we're not going to get into the debate on HELOC, but like one of the things I've told Daniel is, you know, so let's say you have a HELOC, which is not a bad thing per se. But maybe, you know, you go and get a private money or a hard money loan just for the purchase, right? But you still make sure it pencils, and maybe use your HELOC to fund your rehab. But as long as you're still at that 70-75 range, you can actually get your money back to pay off the HELOC. Right. And then you can pay off your lender, you know, pay off your HELOC and then do it again. It's just another way to do it. Right.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. But the important part of the sentence you said was renovating.
Yeah.
Right. So some of these guys were like, hey, I'm talking like people out of state. Like I talked to this dude one time, older guy, he sold coins for a living, like in a call center. House was paid off. He's like, hey, I talked to so-and-so, he told me to call you. I took out a $200K HELOC. I want to buy turnkey properties and have somebody manage them. I mean, these people weren't even walking the properties.
Yeah.
They were just
dangerous.
Yeah. They were just like, hey, I, you know, this is my mentor. He's local. I trust him. And this is the realtor and I trust her. Okay, fine. But you're not going to scale on turnkeys like that. So if you're buying turnkey with a HELOC, eventually you're stuck with a HELOC payment, and you're stuck with, you know, you're cash flowing, I'm sure, somewhat on these turnkeys, but you're not paying off that HELOC anytime soon on probably on a variable rate tied to prime.
And turnkey is so ambiguous because it means certain things to certain people. Like if you tell me turnkey and I walk in it, like we have a certain standard that we rehab to. And I've been accused of probably over rehabbing a little bit, but I would much rather do that and not have any major issues for 5, 6, 7 years and put someone in the house, especially in our model. You know, if we have to do major stuff in a furnished and we got to take it offline, I mean, that's a bigger deal, right? And honestly, I don't want to come behind somebody else either, assuming they did everything correctly. And then you find out they didn't. Oh, there's plumbing issues. Oh, they didn't change the valves. They didn't scope the line. There's a collapsed sewer or the fall line on the sewer. We had a house we looked at where the fall line on the sewer wasn't right. And even though they replaced it, well, guess what? My guy's got to go get a backhoe, dig it up, and basically do it all over again. So it's another $4,500 here to do that. And, you know, otherwise you have all the solid waste coming out of the clean out right by the front door. That's attractive. Right. So you gotta be careful, you know, to his point, you know, buying turnkey can be done, but it's a great analogy, illustration with HELOCs and it's why the numbers are so important, and buying value add is always the way to go. Cause then, you know, it's done right. So
I like that.
I think that if your goal is, hey, I got a bunch of equity in my house and I want to grow it. I think, you know, you can treat turnkey like a glorified 401k or a stock portfolio or something like that. The problem is these people were like, hey, you know, we want to scale and grow our business and grow our money. And it's like, okay, but you know, the dream that your mentor sold to you this is not the path for what you're trying to do. So
great point. That's actually how we got started ourselves. We bought 2 turnkey properties, sight unseen. Don't recommend it. Now, it was a great ending to the story for us, as we learned about in episode 2. We talked about that a little bit. And what I've done it again, knowing what I know now, the outcome was great, but I wouldn't recommend buying something sight unseen, allegedly turnkey, and you pay up front. Definitely not a good way to build a investment portfolio. But anyway, well, anything else for Zach?
No, this has been incredible.
Zach, any final thoughts before we kind of end it?
Just know your numbers. When you're looking at doing a value add and your plan is to hold, you know, 75 LTV of your ARV is going to be the sweet spot. You can go to 80%, but you pay for it. Brian, you know that.
Yep.
We've had some times where they go to 80%. Not everybody does 80. We'll do 80 on cash out, but you pay for it. Everybody wants to see the debt service over 1.2. We do it down to 1 without, you know, I think it's like an eighth a hit on rate. Seasoning too, you know what I mean? Want to make sure we do no seasoning, but you know, if you're not using me or whatever, you know, there's a lot of places they want 3-month seasoning, they want 6-month seasoning. There's other places out there too that do no seasoning, but essentially seasoning meaning the amount of time you have to wait from the time you purchase the property to the time that you're refinancing it. Sometimes it's not an issue depending on how long it's going to take for the renovation, but some of these guys are, you know, like putting $15K in or something and they'll turning it in a couple weeks. So seasoning, debt service, LTV, you know, and always reach out to get numbers. There's nothing wrong with getting numbers on a property that you haven't bought yet if you're going to be planning on holding it. You can never be too safe. You know what I mean? You can never be too safe.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, Zach, I appreciate you coming on. And Daniel, it's been a pleasure as always.
Always. All right. Thank you guys so much. We will see you on the next episode of the BrickFolio.
We are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals. Nothing in this podcast constitutes professional advice. Always consult licensed professionals before making investment decisions. By listening, you agree we are not responsible for any action you take. Stay smart and do your own due diligence.